Alan Ryan's story begins in the turbulent environment of North Dublin, where he emerged as a prominent figure in the Real IRA. From a young age, Ryan demonstrated a fierce commitment to the Republican cause, joining the youth wing of the IRA before he even reached adulthood. His involvement in the armed Republican movement was a natural progression for someone so deeply immersed in the political and ideological currents of his community. As a teenager, Ryan's commitment to the cause was evident. Despite the ongoing peace process and the changing dynamics of the IRA, Ryan remained staunchly loyal to the principles of armed struggle. His early encounters with the law, including his arrest at an IRA training camp, only solidified his reputation within the dissident Republican movement. His time in Portlaoise prison, among the political prisoners, further entrenched his resolve and his stature within the movement. Upon his release, Ryan's leadership within the Real IRA Dublin Brigade became more pronounced. He sought to assert the group's relevance in a city where criminal enterprises and drug gangs were beginning to overshadow traditional political struggles. His efforts to revive the Real IRA influence led to an increase in violent confrontations with rival gangs, marking the beginning of a new era of conflict in Dublin's underworld. The early 2010s were marked by escalating tensions in Dublin's criminal underworld. As the Real IRA, under Alan Ryan's leadership, sought to reassert its influence, it found itself in conflict with established criminal organizations, notably the Kinahan cartel. This period saw a series of violent incidents that underscored the intensifying struggle for control over Dublin's lucrative drug trade. The Kinahan cartel, already entrenched in the city's criminal landscape, viewed the Real IRA as a significant threat to their dominance. The rivalry between the two groups was marked by a series of violent clashes, with each side seeking to outmaneuver the other. The Real IRA attempt to reassert itself through violent means only served to further exacerbate the tensions, leading to a cycle of retaliation and escalating violence. During this time, the Real IRA actions included a mix of political posturing and criminal activities. Their efforts to position themselves as defenders of traditional Republican values were increasingly overshadowed by their involvement in extortion, drug trafficking, and violent enforcement against rivals. The contrast between their purported political motives and their criminal activities became increasingly stark, contributing to the growing instability in Dublin. Alan Ryan's death on September 3, 2012, was a turning point in the ongoing conflict. The murder, which occurred in the midst of a chaotic period for the Real IRA, shocked the city and marked a significant escalation in the violence. Ryan was shot dead in broad daylight, a brazen act that highlighted the shifting dynamics within Dublin's criminal underworld. The aftermath of Ryan's murder was characterized by a period of intense turmoil and retribution. His death left a power vacuum within the Real IRA, leading to a period of internal strife and external pressures. The group struggled to maintain cohesion and leadership in the wake of Ryan's assassination, with various factions vying for control. Ryan's death also had a profound impact on the city's criminal landscape. The power vacuum created by his assassination led to increased violence and instability, as rival gangs and criminal organizations sought to capitalize on the disruption. The Real IRA, once a formidable force, found itself grappling with the consequences of Ryan's death and the subsequent rise of other criminal players. In the wake of Alan Ryan's murder, Dublin experienced a surge in violence as various factions within the criminal underworld sought to assert their dominance. The Real IRA, struggling to recover from the loss of their leader, faced increasing challenges from rival gangs and criminal organizations. The vacuum left by Ryan's death created an environment ripe for further conflict and power struggles. The Kinahan cartel, in particular, capitalized on the chaos. Their strategic maneuvers during this period involved consolidating their position in the drug trade and expanding their influence. The cartel's ability to adapt to the shifting dynamics allowed them to strengthen their grip on Dublin's criminal landscape. Their actions during this time included forging new alliances, expanding their operations and eliminating potential threats. Meanwhile, the Real IRA internal struggles were exacerbated by the murder of Peter Butterley, a figure whose death further destabilized the organization. Butterley's murder was a significant blow to the Real IRA and highlighted the group's vulnerability. The combination of internal turmoil and external pressures led to a period of disarray and decline for the Real IRA Dublin Brigade. The murder of Vinnie Ryan on February 29, 2016, was a brutal chapter in Dublin's ongoing saga of gangland violence. Ryan, a prominent figure within the Real IRA, was shot dead outside his home in Finglas. The attack, carried out in broad daylight, was a calculated move that underscored the volatility and danger of Dublin's criminal underworld. The murder was a significant event that highlighted the ongoing feud between the Real IRA and other criminal factions. The shooting, which resulted in Ryan being struck by multiple bullets, was a stark reminder of the intensity of the conflict. The circumstances of the murder, Ryan's presence with his young daughter at the time, added a tragic dimension to the event. Speculation surrounding the perpetrators of Ryan's murder included suggestions of involvement by the Kinahan cartel. While some believed that the cartel was directly responsible, others thought it was the work of independent operators or freelance hit teams. The ambiguity surrounding the motives and perpetrators added to the complexity of the situation and kept both law enforcement and the public guessing. As Dublin's underworld reeled from the violent clashes between the Real IRA and rival gangs, the Kinahan cartel emerged as a central player in the evolving power struggle. With Alan Ryan's death leaving a power vacuum, the Kinahans, already well established in the city's drug trade, saw an opportunity to consolidate their influence and assert dominance over their rivals. The Kinahan cartel's strategy was multifaceted. Recognizing the disruption caused by the feud, they intensified their criminal operations while maintaining a relatively low profile. Their approach was both strategic and opportunistic, capitalizing on the chaos to strengthen their position in the drug market. This included expanding their network, forging new alliances, and eliminating potential threats. The cartel's ability to adapt quickly to the shifting dynamics of gangland violence was a testament to their operational sophistication and ruthless efficiency. During this period, Dublin witnessed an increase in violence as various factions, including the Kinahan cartel, engaged in turf wars and retaliatory attacks. The Kinahans, known for their strategic acumen, carefully orchestrated their moves to avoid direct confrontations that could draw unwanted attention from law enforcement. Instead, they preferred to use intermediaries and subcontract criminals to carry out violent acts, thereby distancing themselves from the direct fallout of their actions. Despite the chaos, the Kinahan cartel's influence continued to grow. Their ability to leverage the instability created by the feud allowed them to further entrench themselves in Dublin's criminal landscape. They capitalized on the disruption to expand their operations and strengthen their grip on the city's drug trade, making them a dominant force in the ongoing struggle for power. The downfall of the Real IRA Dublin Brigade was both dramatic and decisive. The violence and instability following Alan Ryan's death led to a significant decline in the brigade's operational capacity. The organization's inability to maintain cohesion and discipline during the aftermath of Ryan's assassination was a critical factor in its downfall. Following Ryan's murder, the Real IRA faced internal turmoil and external pressure. The group's leadership was in disarray, and its ranks were increasingly filled with individuals either arrested or disillusioned by the escalating violence and lack of progress. The disorganization was exacerbated by the murder of Peter Butterley, a figure whose death further destabilized the already fragile structure of the Dublin Brigade. The Guards took advantage of this instability. They launched a series of high-profile operations aimed at dismantling the Real IRA remaining networks. These operations, fueled by intelligence gathered from ongoing investigations and the public's increased willingness to cooperate with law enforcement, resulted in numerous arrests and convictions. The trials that followed brought to light the extent of the Real IRA involvement in criminal activities beyond their purported political aims. The convictions of individuals involved in the murder of Vinnie Ryan and other criminal acts underscored the group's transformation from a politically motivated organization into a criminal enterprise. The trials revealed the Real IRA deep involvement in organized crime, including extortion, drug trafficking, and violent enforcement against rivals. The conviction of key figures in the organization marked a turning point. The Dublin Brigade, once a formidable force in the city's criminal and political landscape, was effectively dismantled. The group's ability to operate and exert influence was significantly diminished, leading to the collapse of its organized structure and a reduction in its activities. The fall of the Dublin Brigade had far-reaching implications. It not only weakened the Real IRA presence in Dublin, but also shifted the balance of power in the city's criminal underworld. With the brigade's decline, other criminal organizations, including the Kinahan cartel, seized the opportunity to expand their influence and fill the void left by the Real IRA disintegration. As the Real IRA's Dublin Brigade faded into the background, the focus shifted to the new dynamics emerging in Dublin's criminal landscape. The power struggles and shifting alliances that followed the brigade's fall continued to shape the city's underworld, setting the stage for the next chapter in Dublin's ongoing saga of crime and violence. That's it for today's video. Comment below what you think of this story, and I will see you on the next video.